Okay, we're going to pick it up right here. Got cut off on the last one. I thought I hit pause, but I hit stop. So we're going to start right here in the Apocrypha, and we're going to move forward. Join me. For the Sodomites did not receive those who they knew not when they came, but these brought friends into bondage that had well deserved of them. And not only so, but peradventure some respect shall be had of those because they use strangers not friendly. And not only so, but the pre-adventurer some respect shall be had of those because they had used strangers not friendly. But these very grievous afflicted them, whom thou had received with fearings, were already made partakers of the same laws with them. Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken. So those were all the doors of the righteous man, when being compassed about with horrible great darkness, every one sought the passage of his own doors. For the elements were changed in themselves by a kind of harmony, like as in a psaltery. More changes For the elements were changed in themselves by a kind of harmony. For as in a psaltery notes, changing the name of the tune, and you are always sounds which well may be perceived by the sight of things that have been done. For earthly things were turned into watery, and the things that were before the swan in the water now went upon the ground. The fire had power in the water for conquering his own virtue. Okay, so the fire did not distinguish because of water. And the water forgot his own quenching nature. So God set it up for the water to not quench the fire. On the other side, the flames wasted not the flesh of the corruptible beings, though they walked therein, neither melted they the icy kind of heavenly meat that was of the nature age of meat. For all things, O Lord, thou didst magnify thy people and glorify them, neither did thou lightly regard them, but did assist them every time and in every place. The next book we're going to get into is the Wisdom of Jesus, but not Jesus the Christ. This is Jesus of Sacra, Jesus of Sacra. And his book is Ecclesiasticus. I'm going to give you a prologue into Ecclesiasticus, and then we're going to discuss what the Apocrypha wants us to know pertaining to this format and this scripture. Okay, so we'll end the first one, Wisdom of Solomon. That was the end of it. Okay, and we know that it says, peradventures some respect shall be had of those, because they had used strangers not friendly, but those very grievously affected them whom they had received with feastings, and were already made partakers of the same laws with them. Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, as those at the doors of the righteous man, when being compassed about by hypocrites in great darkness. Meaning that in Sodom and Gomorrah during this time, when the unfriendly strangers, that's how come in the traditional Bible, it talks about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. And it talks about the angels, that when they came there, they were pulled into the house, and they were told, no, don't do that, don't be out there, because the men in Sodom and Gomorrah, when the two angels came, they wanted them sexually. He said, we don't want your women. We want them two men. So this is telling me that during that time, when all hell was breaking loose and there were the sinners in the land were running amok before the destruction of God, when it set Sodom and Gomorrah on fire, that when there were people who did come to the door of the righteous man, if they were unfriendly, God was stricken them immediately with blindness. And what that tells me is that the God that we serve is not a God to play with. He does not play when it comes to his righteous. He does not play when it comes to his people. Because when these men meant them harm, God was there to protect them at the door. Okay? So it wasn't no breaking in, we coming in and we're going to take X, Y, and Z out of the house of the righteous. That's probably what happened with the sinner man, because he was not protected by God. But the righteous man, says God blinded them, blinded their eyes, afflicted them with blindness when they came to his door in the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, so, and that was how in Solomon ends this story. I'll read your last couple paragraphs again. It says, on the other side, first of all, for earthly things were turned into watery, and the things that were before seen in the watery now went upon the ground. The fire had power in the water, extinguishes his own virtue, and the water forgot his own quenching nature. So the fire went through burning even in the water. You could not even hide in water, for the nature of water had changed. God wants you, he'll get you. Trust and believe that. Okay. As a prelude made by an uncertain author, A prelude made by an uncertain author. Okay, it says, this Jesus was the son of Zachariah and grandchild of Jesus of the same name with him. This man therefore lived in latter times, after the people had led away captive and called home again, and almost after all the prophets. Now his grandfather Jesus, as he himself witnesseth, was a man of great diligence and wisdom among the Hebrews, who did not only gather the grave and short sentence of wise men that had been before him, but himself also uttered some of his own, full of much understanding and wisdom. When, as therefore, the first Jesus died, leaving this book almost perfected, Sirach, his son, receiving it after him, left it to his own son Jesus, who was having gotten into his hand, compiled it all orderly into one volume and called it Wisdom, initiating it both his own name and his father's name and his grandfather's name, alluring that the hearer by the very name of the wisdom to have a greater love of the study of this book. It containeth therefore wise sayings, dark sentences, and parables, and certain particular ancient godly stories of men that please God. Also his prayers and saying, moreover, that benefits God, had vouchsafied his people, and what plagues he had heaped upon his enemies. This Jesus did imitate Solomon, and was no less famous for wisdom and learning, being indeed a man of great learning, and so reputed also. Whereas many and great things have been delivered unto us by the law and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Israel ought to be commended for learning and wisdom, and whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without, both by speaking and writing. My grandfather Jesus, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and the other books of our fathers, had gotten therein good judgment, and was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to the learning and wisdom of the intent of those days, which are delirious to learn, which was desirous to learn, and addicted to the things that might profit much more in living according to the law. Wherefore, let me interest you to read it, favor and attention, and to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret. For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself, and the prophets, and the rest of the books, have no small differences when they are spoken in their own language. For it is 8 and 13 year coming to Egypt, when Euerges was king. And continuing there, sometime I found a book of no small learning. Therefore I thought it most necessary for me to bestow some diligence and travail to interpret it. Things great watchfulness and skill in the space to bring the book to an end, and set it forth them also which in a strange country are willing to learn, being prepared therefore in manners to live after the law. All wisdom comes from the Lord, and is with him forever. Who can number the sand of the sea, and the drop of rain, and the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of heaven, and the breadth of the earth, and the depth, and wisdom? Wisdom hath been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of God Most High is the foundation of wisdom, and her ways are everlasting commandments. To whom hath the root of wisdom been revealed, or who hath known her wise counsels? Unto whom hath the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest? And who hath understood her great experience? There is one wise and greatly to be feared, the Lord, sitting upon his throne. He created her. He saw her. He numbered her, and he poured her out upon all his works. She is with all flesh according to his gift, and he hath given her to them that love him. The fear of the Lord is honor and glory and gladness, and a crown of rejoicing. The fear of the Lord maketh a merry heart, and giveth joy and gladness and a long life. Whoso feareth the Lord, it shall go well with him at the last, and he shall find favor in the day of his death. To fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and it is created with the faithful in the womb. She hath built an everlasting foundation with men, and she shall continue with their seed. To fear the Lord is a fullness of wisdom, and filleth men with her fruits. She filleth all her house with things desirable, and all the garments with her increase. The fear of the Lord is a crown of wisdom, making peace and perfect health to flourish, both which are the gifts of God, and it enlargeth their rejoicing that love him. Stop right there. Because there's blessings in fearing the Lord. Fear him and understand why. For wisdom comes from God. He created wisdom. He created wisdom. And he poured wisdom out into the flesh of man, and he may be able to exercise wisdom. But everybody does not exercise wisdom. Everybody does not acknowledge wisdom. A lot of people don't even know wisdom exists. They're so damn stupid. But we're not gonna go there. I'm not gonna act that way. I'm just saying, wisdom is there for the asking. Because my mom used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. So, wisdom is there for the asking. When I kept looking at this name Jesus, right? Jesus of Zechariah, my spirit said, no, baby. Because I got a little concerned when I saw that, right? I said, no. The thing is that is a common name for the time. But there was only one Emmanuel. Okay? This is not him. He's not Emmanuel. He's not Jesus the Christ. That's Emmanuel. So, I was like, okay. Alright. Just like John. That's how the name Jesus was. It was just like the name John. John, James, Peter, Paul. Yeah, it was like that. And some Spanish say Jesus. Okay, so that's it. That's the scriptures. This is part B from the previous video. Like I said, I hit the wrong button and I killed it, so I had to start over. But it's part B, part A from Bonnie B. You all be blessed, my beloved, and we'll pick this back up in the next daily dose in Spiritual Vital. Be blessed. Bye-bye.